today's video and the dish that we're going to cook in the video is not going to be to everybody's taste, so I'll just come straight to the point. Today we are making fried blood. So yeah, we're making a Spanish dish called Sangre Encebollada, which is onions and blood. If you're at all squeamish about eating blood, or you find that whole concept unpleasant, please do feel free to click away and watch something more edifying. Okay, are they gone? Right, this is going to be Sangre de Pollo Encebollada. We have got here a block of chicken blood. You can buy this in the supermarket in Spain. This was from Mercadona. This is a block of Sangre hervida. That's boiled blood, so this is already cooked. This is cooked chicken's blood. It's a block, quite a resilient block, obviously resembling black pudding because that blood is one of the major ingredients in black pudding. But this is just blood. So this is an incredibly simple dish. It is just a few ingredients. It's just onions fried in olive oil with cubes of blood added and salt and pepper. That's it. No other herbs and spices. I am really tempted to add things like rosemary and thyme and so on, but no, apparently it is meant to be simple. So I've got just a regular, some people call that a yellow onion. I would just call that an onion. I've also got a sweet onion. This is a white sweet onion. So we'll just peel that. I think some people do make this with red onion, but yeah, I'm making it with these two kinds of onion. So we've got just a regular onion for a little bit of pungency, and then the other onion, the dulce, for a bit of sweetness. And we're going to cut the pieces like that, so chunky. I'm in my mum's kitchen in Spain, by the way, so I'm having to cope with utensils and facilities that are here. Anyway, let's get that frying. I will put the sweet onion in just after because it will take less cooking. So over here at the cooker, big frying pan on the heat, good splash of olive oil in there, and I'm not even going to wait for that to come up to heat. In goes my first lot of onions. Meanwhile, I will chop up the other one. I'm just going to wait until I see a little bit of colour on there before we put the sweet onion in. We do want slight caramelisation of the onion. So I'm going to fry it for a total of about 10 or 12 minutes. Alright, I'm seeing a little bit of colour on those onions now, the first lot. So in with the sweet onion. I don't think there's any particular reason to do it this way, but I am. I'm just going to keep frying that until these onions are all, at the very least, translucent, but ideally a little bit caramelized. So, Sangre Encebollada literally means onionated blood. So the N prefix on Spanish words, on a Spanish noun, turns a noun into a verb. And the ada suffix is very much like the ated suffix in English. So, sangre is blood, encebollada is onionated, if you were to do a slavish literal translation. So at the moment the pan is quite full of onions, but as these fry they will shrink down in size a little bit as the moisture leaves. A little bit of salt at this stage will just help these onions to lose some of their moisture, and that will aid the caramelisation. I'm just going to keep them all on the move so that we get even cooking as well, so we don't end up with some really burnt bits and some nearly raw bits. Those are looking pretty good. So while those are just doing their last little bit of frying, I'm going to go and prepare the blood. So yeah, block of prepared cooked chicken blood. Now this is chicken blood, so this is going to be a quite mild version of this dish. This dish is also made with bull's blood, sangre de toro, pig's blood, sangre de cerdo, and I think sometimes lamb's blood, which is sangre de cordera. Okay, so there is the block of blood, looking a little bit like a very moist chocolate cake, and I need to cut this into cubes. So we'll go for maybe like 1.5 centimetre cubes, and I'm not going to use the whole block here. I'm going to use, that's maybe a little over half. Very pink inside and weirdly porous. I don't know if that's enough, we'll check. Okay, let's put that in and see what that looks like. Now I don't want to break these cubes up any more than they are already cut. I think we might need a little bit more in there, actually. And so the idea is we fry this for just a few minutes, just really to warm it through and brown the cubes of blood on the outside. It also needs, at this point, good grind of black pepper. And I will just have a little bit more salt just on the blood cubes. Yeah, I think maybe just one more slice in there, just a few more bits. Now, when I've had this before, I ordered this on a tapas bar thinking it was black pudding, and it was Sangre de Toro, and it was quite strongly flavoured, and it was quite gelatinous, actually. It was like a firm jelly, I suppose about the texture of cooked egg white, but with the flavour of blood, you know, the iron-rich flavour that you get in black pudding. This stands to be probably milder because chicken's just a milder flavoured beast, or fowl. We'll see. But that looks about the right mix, I think, of blood and onions. A less slavish translation of Sangre Encebollada is probably blood and onions, or blood on the onions, or just blood with onions. Now, this is not part of the recipe, but I think it's necessary. A tiny little splash of water. And again, I'm really tempted to use red wine, but that is not the official thing. But yeah, a little bit of water will just make a tiny bit of a sauce around everything here and just help those flavours to combine. Okay. I'm going to turn that down now because I think we're nearly ready. To serve with this, I've just got this gorgeous loaf of bread and the world's smallest chopping board. I think this might be a sourdough. I think that's probably all the bread I need. I'm going to cut this into fairly thin slices. Okay, now as strange as it might seem, I'm dining alone. I couldn't convince any others of my family to join me in this feast, but here we go. Sangre Encebollada, fried blood with onions. Okay, so here we go. That's one of the little cubes. So, still pink in the middle. Weirdly porous texture. Texture's kind of springy, a bit like egg white. Necesita sal. I think a bit more pepper won't go amiss. So yeah, quite a mild flavour. There is an irony tang, similar to what you'd get in black pudding, but not nearly as strong in flavour as black pudding. Small side note from Editing Shrimp here. Although I described this as very mild tasting when I was actually eating it, about probably 45 minutes later, I became aware of a really quite strong irony blood taste in my mouth, which lingered for most of the afternoon. I mention that really just to fill in the details. If you're thinking about trying this, don't be too surprised if that happens. Quite mild, quite meaty as well. I thought this was going to be softer than this, and I thought the way to eat it was going to be to mash it onto a slice of bread like that and take a bite. And it is very good like that, but actually really quite nice just on its own, but chopped up, mashed onto a bit of bread with some of the onions. I've no idea if that is any kind of authentic way of enjoying this, but it is nice. I think it's often eaten with potatoes or with actually with just potato crisps. Really nice. And if you can get over the idea of what it is, in fact, and this won't come as a surprise, the texture and flavour is quite a lot just like cooked chicken liver. Postprandial shrimp here, just thinking about this some more, about the texture. Actually, the texture of this, it's like firm tofu. Yeah, the texture is a lot like firm tofu. I imagine that statement could be offensive to both tofu lovers and tofu haters. But there you go. I wish I could have a beer with this, but I'm driving this afternoon, so it's fizzy orange. So yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about this, except that the reality is a lot less weird than the concept. So that's been Sangre Encebollada, at least my attempt to make that dish. I hope that's been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.